We obviously live in a dystopian society, but what if I told you that's just how reality was designed to be? So let me just casually explain some basic laws of reality, and you'll really understand where I'm coming from. So let's start with something that's ever so common nowadays: the corruption of power. Why does this happen? So let's talk about a simple structure of incentives versus morals. We as humans love to put morals on things when this is very much in fact a moralist world. And it's pretty obvious in all sorts of things. I mean, look at how half the food has poison in it. Why does it have poison in it? Because it's cheaper. And why would they do that? Because they make more money. Now, how about another example? You find a wallet on the ground and it has the ID and you can find their address easily, right? What is the most rewarding thing to do there? Do you bring the wallet back and maybe get a little reward? Or do you take all the money yourself and call it a day? Who is winning more there? The one who takes the money, obviously. Is it right? No, but it's obviously how the system works. Negative things are rewarded. If you want to put any type of ideals on what reality is an opportunistic system. It's not a moral system. Let's not forget that. And let's go another layer deeper. What's more important than being a morally good person? Being seen as a morally good person. I mean, you could be the devil himself, but if you look good and you look like you're a moral stand-up person, everyone will love you. Because perception matters more than reality. So obviously the most strategic path in life is to double dip. Play the evil route to get the most reward, and then have a portrayal of yourself as the good guy. It's that simple. But outside of power struggles, let's talk about some human conditions, such as tolerance. Things will rarely get better than the first time. That's why they have this saying called chasing the dragon. You'll always be chasing that first experience. It goes for all sorts of things. Relationships, substances, foods. All these things will never be as impactful as the first time. And that's why I really do believe people need to slow down and practice a little bit more regard in what they do with themselves, because I see a lot of people rushing into things, chasing novelty, and all they're doing is frying their life satisfaction. Which perfectly brings us into the paradox of learning. So there's a couple ways to learn, but the most common way to learn is through damage. You get hurt, you learn through that mistake, that experience creates knowledge, and so knowledge comes from damage. But damage also creates scars, and the past is permanent, so every decision leaves a mark. And like we mentioned earlier with the tolerance and novelty thing, it will never be as good as the first time, so you make that mistake, suddenly you can't go back to the start, and so you are stuck left with the scars of your decisions. And that's why I really do believe the best way to gain knowledge is through learning from other people. That's what I personally did. I know a person who was like really deeply scarred by hookup culture. They involved themselves in it very heavily, and they're like, okay, well, I understand how women work now, but I'm like traumatized. And I've learned how they work by reading. Call me a nerd, call me whatever you want, but I didn't have to go through the trauma to learn that. And so which one's better? Obviously the knowledge, right? But speaking of knowledge, let's talk about the most important knowledge you'll ever hear. The most important thing you can ever do is knowledge yourself. And I'm going to say this for a very strict reason. Because when you start your life, right? You roll the dice, you get your life, and it could be a bad start, could be a good start. But if you're unfortunate enough to get a bad start, like I feel like a lot of us have, you are going to have a harder time. Life does not care. Bad start, bad life. It's not completely linear, but there is a really good correlation. Most people in prison had a bad childhood. And so life does not reward anything. It takes the people at the bottom and it keeps beating them down. But here's really where things can change. Like I said earlier, damage creates experience and experience creates knowledge, right? And so if you had a bad start and you can get through that, that experience will create knowledge, and that knowledge will propel you farther than you'll ever imagine. And so there is a silver lining in it, but it is also very messed up that we have this situation where the people who are screwed off the start stay screwed usually. And it's in so many ways it's actually ridiculous. Financially, you're probably messed up if you have a bad start. Mentally, you're clearly messed up. And physically, you could even be messed up. You could be malnourished, and that can be messing up your body, which is obviously not good. It can lead to so many issues down the line. And the stress of having a bad childhood leads to other conditions where your body might start self-attacking. And so it's really quite concerning that reality is designed in a way where if you're born wrong, you're screwed. And let's not even just forget this one. Evolution is literally the most vicious design system in the whole universe. What is evolution's goal? Survival of the fittest. It's eat or be eaten, and every system is a competition. And we as humans don't think about this often because we're at the top of the food chain, but really, a lot of these animals are actually eating each other to bits. Like they are killing each other with teeth. Like this is insane. If hell is anything, I would say it's probably that. And if you want to go away from the evolutionary chain, let's talk about how reality is as well. Everything decays. You look around, you have dust settling, decay. Your body decays. You will eventually have your body fail on you. It's going to happen. You were given everything off the start. Your skin is perfect when you're young, right? Everything's perfect. But then your body slowly gets worse. Your skin wrinkles, your body fails, your body starts to hurt. And so you're given the best at the start just to be shown the worst through time because it will never be as good as the start, which is quite messed up in a way. Of course, there's a lot of things to combat that, like exercise and all that, but it is a really unfortunate part of life. And so everything's working against this constant decay, and that constant decay leads to more issues along the lines of like the novelty effect, right? Relationships decay. Everyone wants their first relationship to work out. I don't care who you are. If you have an ideal first relationship, you would want it to work out. Everyone would. Every single person in the world. But I mean, the reality of the situation really makes sense because what was the brain evolved to do? It was evolved to survive, which means we have a design in our mind to fear things, to really look out for ourselves. And that's the problem. The problem is humans are designed wrong. And I don't want to say that because it sounds hopeless, but it's very much true. We are designed to think about ourselves. We are designed to be fearful. When you walk around, you scan things because that's what you're supposed to do out in the primal days. You'd be looking for danger. And so the same conditions still lie. And the only times they don't really show up is when you've been conditioned from a young age to not expect danger. And the human identity itself is ego-based. Something people will often do, especially emotional people, is that they will do something and then they'll justify it later by changing the logic of it, right? You know, they'll do an action and then they'll change the story in their mind to justify that action. And that's the defense of the ego. We are ego-based creatures, and to be ego-based is to be completely self-centered. You see the universe rotating around you, even though that's very much not the way to be perceiving things, because when everything rotates around your perception of reality, you are always going to be as limited as your brain is. And let's be honest, no one is all-knowing, and so as long as you're stuck from your own perception, you will be forever an idiot, respectfully. If you only believe your own perception, you're dumb. A good example is religion. You'll see religious people see everything through their certain view of reality. You know, the Hindus will see certain entities as gods. The Christians will see them all as demons. Are either one of them right? Probably not. They're probably somewhere in between, right? And so if you're going to view it from one lens, you're automatically only going to have half the story. And it's really quite ignorant. You know, it's kind of like me being a pastry chef and I'm suddenly making a judgment on how to barbecue properly. And so I want to say that there is a silver lining to all this, because this is a heavily pessimistic video, I know. But the reality of the situation is that you can really create anything you want in life. Life is actually much more simpler than you think, because the only battle is really with yourself. I mean, reality might be in itself destructive, but there's plenty of people who have lived a happy life. We are humans, and we humans like to stabilize. And so no matter how bad the situation gets, we can find happiness in it. That is one of the benefits of our brain. They were happy when they were in a survival situation. They were happy when they were in poor economies. They were happy when they were in rich economies. And actually sometimes less happy in rich economies. So like, really think about it. The thing is, your perception will judge your outcome. And so, despite all this negative things, really try to keep a positive lens on things.